Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene, and today I am very fortunate to welcome back a repeat guest, Andy Cagnetta from Transworld. Andy, thanks so much for coming back.
I am so happy to be back, and thanks for everything you do for us as well.
Hey, it is our pleasure to serve the Transworld community. Let's talk about that. For our folks watching or listening who don't know, what is Transworld Business Advisors?
We sell other people's businesses. So we, much like a realtor, I guess is the best way to describe it, we help people sell their businesses. So we get with them, package it up for sale, go out and do a search for buyers, and then get a commission when we sell it.
All right. So what are some of the biggest mistakes we as entrepreneurs or business owners make when it comes time to think about selling our business?
Well, one of the things is not having a plan to sell your business, and not being prepared. And the #1 preparation thing is really to have good systems and good books and records. It's ridiculous at this point in time in the world not to have your business on some sort of computerized record keeping where you have just about instant access to your records, your books, your numbers, your inventory, your KPIs, your key performance indicators. And if you do that now and bite the bullet and make sure that you have the proper cost of goods sold and the proper inventory and the proper gross margins, and you're not overzealous with them at tax time, that would be very helpful in selling your business.
Okay, so first thing, have a plan.
Right.
Second thing, in addition to online, let's say, records for accounting purposes, also have that for the entire system that operates the business. You have helped probably tens of thousands of businesses sell through Transworld and its network of business advisors. What have been some of the craziest transactions you might not be able to name names, but like, hey, we had this company ABC and I couldn't believe X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. So, I always love trying to take outlandish kind of deals because one of the things I think Transworld is very good at is finding the needles in the haystack, the perfect buyer for a certain business. We took a roller coaster that was closing and they wanted it moved. And so we put the roller coaster up for sale. Now, we weren't successful in selling it. We got close. Everybody realized that taking down a wooden roller coaster was probably going to damage it more than everybody thought in the beginning, and it was not going to go back together correctly. So that was the one. But the other one we sold was, and I always like to tell people, we sold 2 tractor trailer loads of dead bodies. And so we sold a traveling museum exhibit that, if you've seen it out there, and there's a couple of them, but the one's called Bodies, and they have like this exhibit where you could go look at parts and internal parts and see inside of bodies. And there was one of those iterations of that exhibit that a gentleman had put together. He had 2 tractor trailer loads of body parts and bodies and different exhibits. And and we were able to sell it to a museum in Tampa. So
Wow. I certainly didn't expect you to say we sold tractor trailer loads of dead bodies. That is,
yeah, so
I was going to say, is he a taxidermist? How does one come up with the idea of I'm going to preserve these?
I I don't know how they did. I mean, I think they were in the exposition business, and they thought that, they thought that was a hot commodity from the bodies, the actual one, the bodies, which is still branded, and they go out there. So
Understood. Okay. So, who makes a good trans world business advisor? Talk a little bit about what that looks like as a career path.
yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, I think you get involved with Transworld kind of in two stages of your life. If you're lucky, like me, I got here as a young man, and I was 28 years old when I landed at Transworld and was able to get my career going without a lot of overhead, let's say, in my life. I didn't own a house. We didn't have a child yet, although I had one like a few months after I started. And so I didn't have a lot of overhead yet. And because part of the issue, quote unquote, at Transworld is when you get involved in something that's 100% commission, it takes time. And some people don't have that time. They live paycheck to paycheck, or they can't skip. They have a lot of family kind of responsibility. So a lot of people get involved in their second careers. They've sold their business. They've decided they sold their accounting practice, or they've left public accounting, or I have a lot of 50 and 60, and I still have some octogenarians that work for me that have a lot of business knowledge and are wanting to help people, because that's what this job is. It's really helping people transition to something else they want to do. Now, sometimes that's selling a business and they've had a great career and they've made money and they want to transition into traveling and enjoying life and enjoying the fruits of their labor. Or sometimes it's, hey, I'm stuck in a 9 to 5 job. I'm 30 years old and I want to build something for myself that I can sell someday. So they're buying a business. And so on both ends of those spectrums, becoming the trusted advisor in your community, where you're going to accountants and attorneys and investment advisors and business owners and saying, we can help you, you know, sell or buy a business. A lot of times that, the perfect person for that is someone that had been in business before, and someone perhaps that has a little gray or no hair like me. But I am going to say, over the last, say, decade, that has been changing a lot. I mean, we have some of our most successful brokers. We had one that was tending bar, and she was tending bar in the Orlando area. One of my associates, one of my partners, was having dinner at the bar, and he said, "You're just great at talking to people. You're great at, you're a hard worker. I can see that. What are you doing with your life?" And she told him, I feel like I'm stuck in this job. And he said, well, maybe you should become a Transworld agent. And she's been wildly successful. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars of commission income for herself and her family. And, we're very proud of her. And so it really runs the gamut.
That is incredible. So when one becomes a trans world business advisor, they're helping businesses buy and they're helping businesses sell, and obviously helping other people buy those businesses. What are some of the things that some of your most successful trans world advisors have done that made it work?
Yeah, I mean, so I always say to people, I think the biggest obstacle to success is having paralysis by analysis. They just think about it too much. Even my own daughter's joining Transworld out in Seattle in the last few months, and I said, just don't think about it. Just go out and start meeting people, and go out and the people who are successful are the people who go out right after training and call us in a panic because they have five lead appointments and they don't know how to handle it. And
That's
like
a good
those are people who
problem.
are going to be successful. The people who I called 2 months after they started here at Transworld and said, yeah, well, I hired a LinkedIn uh, consultant and they're building out my LinkedIn profile, and I'm working on, packaging my brand. I mean, those are the people who don't usually are successful. So it's just kind of it's a nose to the grindstone kind of business. It is a numbers business. It is about going out and meeting people. I always tell people the nice thing is, as opposed to some other professions, maybe like in that are more oversaturated, like realtor, maybe like being a banker or an insurance agent. When you're walking around a cocktail party and you tell people, "Hey, I sell businesses for a living," no one throws you to the other. No one walks away. Everybody kind of leans in and goes, "What do you do?" Because it's interesting. So
Right. It's not like you're an insurance agent.
yeah,
No
I
offense
I
to the insurance
never
agents listening.
I don't think this is a sales job. Now, like a sales position. I was never good at sales. I had sold guitars and pasta and lighting and cell phones, and I was never really good at it. I mean, like I was not the guy who could get someone to buy that day. But I don't consider this that kind of business. This is people are coming to you with their mind made up. I want to sell. I want to buy. Now I have to get them through this very difficult process, and complicated process. Now, is there some is there some persuading along the way? Sure, like, hey, they're not willing to pay you this as a consultant moving forward, or hey, you got to accept seller financing because the bank is not, coming all the way through with their financing. Hey, you got to put up more money. Hey, you got to include this in the. There are some sales, but really at the end of the day, it's about just getting everybody through a very complicated process and being very consultative.
That makes a lot of sense. Can you talk a little bit about your own career path at Transworld? Because you've had an interesting journey, which I think we've documented in several books.
Yeah, again, I wasn't the best student in college. I kind of was in the computer engineering world, and then I got out of that and got into marketing. And so when I got out of school, the job market really wasn't doing great, and so I wound up starting to sell cell phones and pagers, and in my own company. Um, through my cousin got me involved, and he was in that industry. He was working at uh, what became AT&T later on. But so so that kind of started my first business idea, and then I just kind of went from little thing to little thing, and having businesses and not really being successful. And the one success I had that was reasonable was we bought a pasta shop in Hartford, Connecticut, and we bought it for $45,000. We wound up selling it, I think about a year or two later, and for 65. So I thought I was a genius. I'm like, wow, I scored. Like, but we made money along the way, and it was a successful little business. I learned so much in that business that when I came down to Florida, I said, hey, I'm going to buy another business. And I met business brokers. I had never met a business broker before, even when I bought and sold my business in Connecticut. And what, I was invited to join as a salesperson at Transworld. And then 2 years later, I bought the company. So it's been a fantastic ride. And I've been very lucky with great partners along the way, including United Franchise Group when we decided to franchise. So it's been a career, let's put it, 30 years.
That is absolutely incredible. Your all the success you have achieved and how you've helped all of the other trans world advisors and then their clients, that's a huge ripple effect. What's your biggest challenge now?
You know, I I think, the biggest challenge is, it's funny, I just got off the phone with this, and he was talking about some of our, and I'm friends with a lot of people in the community of business brokerage as well, my competitors and stuff. And we talk a lot about what's going on in the world. And one of the hardest things is keeping up with technology. It's just, very, very difficult. It's kind of a black hole of trying to get out there. And the amount of effort that it takes to, say, SEO yourself, or have a successful social media campaign takes a lot of money, time, and effort. And what we've done here at Transworld is we've put all those programs together for you. So everybody that joins Transworld is either a franchisee or one of their agents, doesn't have to do all that stuff. So here we are now doing it for people with these programs. So,
Amen to that. Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
I mean, I love helping people. I mean, we love changing people's lives. I mean, whether it be our clients who buy and sell businesses or the franchisees and the agents that have come to work for Transworld. Again, people from all different walks of life. One of my guys was I don't want to age him too much, but he's got a 7 on his age. And he retired as a accountant after many, many years. And his wife said, if you stay home any longer, I'm going to choke you out myself. And so he's like, I got to find something to do. So he came to work for us. He was rookie of the year last year, which is funny because he was, an older gentleman. I mean, and he's like, this has reinvigorated my life. He's like, and he brought in like $600,000 worth of commissions. So,
That's a good year.
Yeah, he had a fantastic year. So, stories like that all across the world. I mean, we have, franchisees in different countries. So
for our folks who are watching or listening and want to learn more about the franchise opportunity, and for our folks who might say, hey, I'd like to buy or sell a business, where do we send all of them?
It's simple, tworld.com, TWORLD.com. And you can find out information. We're willing to help. I always tell people, you want to ping me on LinkedIn, you want to ping me, via email. I'm pretty accessible, much to the detriment of some of my people here. It's like, you take meetings with everybody. I'm like, if somebody's really interested in hearing what it takes to buy and sell a business, and, I get referrals, like from you and from other people that, we've done business with over the years. And, I'm always willing to take a meeting and tell them. Now, buying a business right now, not the easiest thing to do. There's a lot of buyers out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Like, people think you could buy a business with no money down or with no money. And so if you're a buyer, you're going to have to do your homework, and you're going to have to be very vigilant to be ready to buy something as soon as it becomes available.
Well, we know your time is incredibly valuable. We greatly appreciate you spending some of it with us. Can you mention your podcast and the books before we let you go?
Yeah, so the book's right over my shoulder, Closing the Deal. That is a book about, buying and selling business, mostly for sellers. And I want to thank you and, of course, Bruce and your staff for helping me put it together. That you guys did a great job. And we are revisiting my fun book, Favilla Familia. We're probably going to name it something else, but it's a book about my family had a history in guitars. I mentioned that earlier. And almost 100 years manufacturing guitars in New York, and there are collectors out there. And so we wanted to give the public the ability to date them and to understand the history of the brand. And we're going to take another whack at it. I think the biggest reason I'm taking a whack at it is because I found a picture of Jimi Hendrix playing one of our family's guitars. Wow. And it's not in the book. And I'm like,
you got to do a second edition.
I got to do a second edition. Jimi Hendrix. So, and and we have some great people like Elliot Easton from the Cars, and I'm interviewing him again, and we're going to interview him for the book. And so it's great stuff.
That is absolutely incredible. Oh, and can you talk about the podcast?
Yeah, and our podcast, I have the podcast called The Deal Board, and the Deal Board podcast is a great place to learn about buying businesses. And we have another podcast called Coffee with Cagnetta, and we're trying to bring out stories of entrepreneurs. So,
all right. Well, we greatly appreciate your time. This has been Seth Greene with Andy Cagnetta from Transworld. Andy, thanks again for coming back.
Thanks, Seth.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening, and we will talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.